Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another Spooktober edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down. After wrapping up our week of classic horror villain sequel movies and the latest from the Halloween franchise, Halloween Kills. If you want all my non-spoiler thoughts on that one, you can check them out right up there. But now we turn to, I guess you could call this a bit of a clumsy handoff as we head into our Vampire Week by going to the third installment in the Halloween franchise. And is the only installment that does not feature Michael Myers. If you're confused, well, hey, let the old Seaman educate you. What are we talking about? Why don't you pull up a chair, take a seat. We're getting ready to dive in spoiler-free-ish into Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. And this is an interesting one, and like I said, a bit of a clumsy fumble. It'd be great if there was like any kind of a vampire tie in this movie at all to lead us into all the vampire movies we'll be talking about following this one, but I thought it was a good spot to put this, because obviously next year when we go back for our third round of classic characters during Spooktober, I'm not going to want to do this one because Michael Myers is very, very absent outside of like one shot of his mask in a Halloween store. And that's because, spoilers, in case you didn't know, and you didn't see my review to Halloween 2, Carpenter definitively kills Michael at the end of 2, and the studio wanted to bring the franchise back because it was so popular and successful. And while not credited, John Carpenter was involved, as was Nigel Neal, in coming up with a way to revive the Halloween franchise without using Michael. And the option was to, let's make Halloween now an anthology franchise where we'll just have different Halloween stories every year. And as you would expect in 1982, this movie did not do very well and wasn't very well critically received. Fans really weren't into it because the reason you go to a Halloween movie is to see Michael Myers, and that's not what we got from Tommy Lee Wallace's Season of the Witch, which, as I said, conceptually was turned into an anthology series. So the idea was we're just going to have new Halloween stories, and this one follows a doctor, Dr. Daniel Chalice, who, after having a patient who comes in gripping a mask, there's this mask company, Silver Shamrock, who's got 3 masks, a pumpkin, a witch, and a skeleton head. And, this guy's like clutching it, and it's just like, they're going to come for us and kill us all. And this kind of sends Chalice on this odd mission as a doctor to go track down what is actually happening at Silver Shamrock. And ultimately what we find is that there's a secret plot by the owner, Connell Cochran, to use the mask to basically wipe out all children. Now, look, this movie's not perfect. It certainly has its issues. I don't think the writing is super strong. I certainly would have liked to have had a bit more motivation and understanding as to why Connell Cochran wants to kill all of these kids on Halloween. The idea of 3 masks being all that the Silver Shamrock was selling and everybody was obsessed with them, like, I don't know, give me a line of like 6 or 7 masks. Like, I had a really deep friend bench, you know what I mean? So like when we go out on Halloween, we roll deep. You're not going to have 7 people wearing the same 3 masks over and over again. So like I didn't think that really flew too well in like having this plot that was going to take out a bunch of these kids. But all of those things aside, and also the whole Dr. Chalice thing, like, I never really understood why he is our main character and the person that we focus on. It just feels like you could have had this story just run specifically through Stacey Nelkin after her father goes missing. Like, she could have just been our main viewpoint. I don't know why we needed the doctor for this one. And, in keeping with the Halloween spirit, like, have your main character be a female lead. That, I think, probably would have made a little bit more sense. Instead, our doctor runs into Nelkin's character, Ellie Grimbridge, outside of Silver Shamrock. It's like this, basically, it's like the factory is put in this desolate area and they create a town around it. So, Silver Shamrock runs this entire town. They're at a motel. And they meet each other, and then there's this weird, awkward love situation that goes on. It's not great, and it doesn't really work a ton. However, I appreciate what, Season of the Witch is trying to do, because while the movie doesn't actually bring too many scares with it, it certainly does bring a very terrifying concept, like this idea of targeting kids, and specifically where the movie ends. Like the whole concept is, all these kids are gonna buy these masks, and you're gonna wear your mask for this big special that's gonna air on like the 3 channels that existed back then, on these old bunny ear TVs. But you have them all line up, and then through some supernatural forces, the masks will kill anybody that is wearing them. And it's because of like the Shamrock like logo tag that's on the back of them. It's a terrifying concept, and the execution of the lead up to that moment and like how it ends and how the movie ends, I actually think works really well. Like the last act of this movie, like when you're inside Silver Shamrock and like everything just starts like going crazy, that's when I'm most invested in this movie. And that's where like I look at Season of the Witch and go, if you would have just focused more on that, right? Like as much as I enjoy Tom Atkins here, he's just fine. I don't think you need the Daniel Chalice character. So if you cut out Daniel Chalice, you just focus on Ellie Grimbridge, and you just focus on Silver Shamrock and Connell Cochran, I think you could have developed 2 acts that were way stronger, could have been, I think, had more scary moments and more, like jump scare stuff if you had just stuck with Ellie and Silver Shamrock. But adding in, the Daniel Chalice character is where this movie kind of starts to stumble for me. Because while being sort of tied into things that are going on, it's just an odd one. Like, to have him be your kind of main focal point. And like I said, that love story between him and Ellie, it's weird. Like, it's very strange. Like, it doesn't feel like it fits, and she's just like throwing herself at him. I'm like, I'm slightly lost on my own here, but I do think there are elements to Season of the Witch that are worthwhile, and like I said, that 3rd act, and when you start getting into like the countdown, like, is Cochran going to end up killing any kids? And when you start to see the things that the masks do when this, specific thing is triggered during this special, like, that stuff creeps you out, man. And like anytime your target is like kids, like you're talking about like a real legitimate evil plan. And that stuff, I think, from a scary standpoint, works. Like the end of this movie, while it doesn't like make you jump or get like, it's a terrifying concept. And I think if they could have just polished that a little bit more, you could have had something that maybe worked, and maybe we sit in a world where the Halloween franchise is an anthology series, and they never have to bring Michael back from the dead and create a lot of the issues that the franchise had, which has now led to the rebooting of the franchise that we're currently in. But, I think Tommy Lee Wallace does an okay job. He's juggling a bunch of different things here, right? Like, you've got supernatural forces. There's this kind of idea of like robots that can replace people. Like you can literally body swap with like these robots that look identical. Another interesting concept that's kind of just thrown in there and not really hashed out too well. But like, I think it was just like too much juggling, where if you trim out some of the fluff and you get into the nitty gritty and you just kind of flesh that out, I think you could have had a way better movie where, in all honesty, if we finish the Halloween series that we currently have with Halloween Ends, and that does definitively wrap things up, I would not be mad if someone was like, hey, let's try to remake like if McBride and Gordon Green were like, let's try to remake Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, and just make it a better movie. I'd be so fascinated to see that, because I think there is a lot of good stuff here. And again, one of the things that I didn't talk about because we haven't done spoilers on Halloween Kills, but there's a moment where there are 2 masks that are, I mean, they're pulled right from you. Like, it's one of the things where it's like Gordon Green and McBride are very clearly just Halloween franchise fans, and to include a nod to Halloween 3 inside of Halloween Kills was something that I thought was super cool, never saw in a million years coming. And like I said, I'd be interesting to see if you rebooted it or tried to redo this movie, what you could do. Because I think there are a lot of interesting, scary concepts in there that, unfortunately, Tommy Lee Wallace just kind of bungles a little bit because he's juggling so many things. But I did appreciate his style and his approach, and the movie's very watchable. You know what I mean? Like, it's an easy one to put on during the course of Halloween, and yeah, I'm not shaking in my boots or jumping out of, my seat, but you get to the end of that movie and you're just like, dude, that's like effed up, and I always enjoy a good effed up, plot line. So there you go, man. Those are all my non-spoiler-ish thoughts on Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Let's give this bad boy a score, huh? Let's get the C-Maniacs up. There they are. And like I said, it's not a perfect movie. And I guess if you really had to say it, it's not really a great or a good movie. But there are some really interesting things inside of this one. The concept of, the robots that can swap with humans. Wish we could have fleshed that out a little bit more, because that was certainly interesting. And, just further advances the idea of like how evil a corporation Silver Shamrock was. I think you had a good evil corporation and a good evil head in Connell Cochran that I would have liked to have been seen, massaged and worked out a little bit more, because outside of Daniel Chalice and his whole storyline, the idea of what goes on with the character of Ellie Grimbridge, who gives us you get a decent performance from Stacey Nelkin. That part of the story and Silver Shamrock, if somehow you had just made that the focus and kind of leaned more into the creepy, scary things and the plot lines going on at Silver Shamrock with their mask, idea, and more of just Ellie kind of being alone, having to kind of navigate through this place, rather than it being Chalice, I think you could have had something that really, really could have popped. But unfortunately, you don't. You get a script that's juggling, I think, a little bit too much, doesn't really give enough attention to places that it should, and ultimately just kind of falls short, specifically when you're in the middle of a Halloween series, because there's no Michael Myers. But like I said, if you remove yourself from that, there are things here that I think could have worked. And I think, like I said, that Ellie Grimbridge story going into Silver Shamrock, I think, would have been the better route to take, so you could really build a better second act into a third act that I think is pretty solid. Like, once you're inside Silver Shamrock, the stuff that's going on there and what the overall plot line is, it's kind of terrifying, from a conceptual standpoint. And there is a pathway to a really good movie in here. Unfortunately, it misses the mark. So for the C-Man, I gotta go 2 out of 5 C-Maniacs. It's not a great movie, but I've always appreciated the idea of Season of the Witch, and it's something that I think I would like to see maybe revisited one day. If any of you horror directors out there are like, hey, let's break in with bringing back Season of the Witch, I'd watch the movie. But there you go, man. 2 out of 5 C-Maniacs. That's it for me. Now I want to know what you're thinking. Have you been enjoying your Spooktober? Have you been following along with me on my ride? What movies have really popped out for you? And what are your thoughts on Halloween 3 Season of the Witch? While I don't think it's a very good movie, I think there's worthwhile stuff in there. So do you see that worthwhile stuff? Is this a movie that, like, when you watch it, you go, there could have been something really good here? Or is this just a movie watching, like, it's just really not good at all? And if you were not alive in 1982 or didn't watch it when it first came out, but you watched it in watching the Halloween franchise, what was it like? What was your first experience with Halloween 3 like? Like, for me, I remember doing like a binge and just throwing on 3 going, when does Michael Myers come into this story? I sat there befuddled for a while. So if that was your first experience with Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, or if you had some other experience, let me know all of that stuff, good, bad, indifferent, on Halloween 3 Season of the Witch down below in the comment section. Look forward to talking to you guys down there. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with the C-Man anytime we're talking movies, TV, trailer, reactions, you want to be here for the rest of the Spooktober run. We got the Vampire Week coming up, man. I get a bunch of vampire movie reviews from me. You want to be here for all that. You haven't yet. You want to show a little love and support to the old C-Man? Well, hey, come join C-Maniac Nation. Super easy. All you gotta do, jump over there. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that little bell if you want those alerts. And until next time, for the C-Man's Cinema, sit down. I've been the C-Man. I'm signing off. Peace. Oh, hey, what's going on? You must be sticking around because you're looking for more content featuring this guy. Well, guess what? You're in the right place. You can check out more videos right here and right here. And if you have and you want to come join that C-Maniac Nation, you can hit that subscribe right over there.